how to buy property below market value. Hi, I'm Jaco Grobbelaar, the founder and managing director of Prosperity Enterprises. One of the questions that I get asked most often is, how do I buy a property at a discount? Or where do I find properties below market value? Now, to start, let's talk about where you can find property, and then we will look at how you can buy a property below market value. Your sources are as follows. Your first place to look for investment property is on the website portals. Today, the majority of your properties are listed on the website portals. So make sure to get familiar with websites such as Private Property and Property 24, where you can look for investment properties. Then, of course, there are real estate agents. Some of the best properties that I've bought are properties that real estate agents have found me and brought to me. So make sure that you build up a good relationship with real estate agents in the areas where you want to invest in property. Then, of course, there's private sellers. Sometimes somebody would approach me and say that, hey, I'm selling my property. Are you interested in buying it? So make sure that your ears are on the ground and that you are aware of when people want to sell their properties. There are then, of course, the portals where repossessed properties are listed, where you can look for properties that are being sold by banks before it goes on to auction. Then, of course, there are the auctions. At sheriff auctions, you can buy properties that have been repossessed from owners that could not afford to pay their bonds. And there are other auctions as well, where you can buy properties and find properties below market value. The tip that I want to give you is to view as many properties as possible. The more properties you view, the more likely you will find properties that are below market value. And then submit a number of offers to purchase. So when you find a property that you are interested in, you can make an offer on that property for less than market value and see if it will be accepted. It's almost like fishing. You put a line in the water or a couple of lines in the water and see if there's a bite. So often, I would not know if a seller was motivated or not until after the transaction, because I would submit an offer to purchase or a number of offers to purchase, and one of them would be accepted, and that one would be the one where there was a motivated seller. So why on earth would anybody want to sell property below market value? There are many reasons why people sell properties below market value. The most obvious reason is people are in financial distress. When someone is in financial distress, they do not have time on their side and they have to sell that property. And often they would drop that price to below market value because the property needs to sell urgently. And then, of course, there's divorce. When a couple wants to separate and they still own a property together, that is an asset that they really would like to get rid of urgently. There's death. So let's look, for example, at a deceased estate. Sometimes there's a number of properties that end up in a deceased estate, and the executor and the beneficiaries just want to get rid of those properties, maybe for liquidity or for whatever other reason, and then those properties are sold for less than market value. There's, of course, immigration, people leaving the country, and when someone is leaving the country, usually they don't want to keep their properties here, and they would be more than happy to sell it for less than market value in order to start their new life somewhere else. There's downsizing and upsizing. We often focus on downsizing but forget to think of upsizing. Sometimes a couple is so excited to move out of their townhouse that they acquire together when they just got married that they can't get it sold quick enough to buy their next house. And because they need to buy this next house, which is their dream home, they don't have time on their side to sell their existing property in order for them to move. And that often creates a great opportunity for you to buy property below market value. Then, of course, there's presentation. Sometimes a property is in a terrible condition, and that allows you or enables you to buy that property far below market value. That would mean that you would need to renovate or repair or fix up this property, but in that process, you can create a lot of wealth and a great return for yourself. And then there are uninformed sellers. Sometimes an owner purchased a property 20 or 30 years ago and has no idea what that property is worth today. And when you make an offer, maybe below market value, to that person would be more than happy to accept it, since it is so much more than what they paid for it 20 or 30 years ago. And then, of course, there are difficult tenants. Some property investors sit in a situation where they've got difficult tenants, and maybe they are not managing the property portfolio as they ought to, and now they just want to exit this game of property investment. And that is when it's possible for you as an investor to come in and to buy that property, maybe with a difficult tenant in, for below market value. And those are all reasons why you can buy property below market value. In property, you make your money when you buy. When you buy a property below market value, you can go to the bank, refinance that property, make that capital available, park it in your access bond, like we've discussed in one of our other YouTube videos, and leave that money there for when you need it to either acquire your next investment property or for reserves. So you want to make sure that when you buy property at the right price. You want to make sure that you acquire that property below market value so that you can refinance that property and make capital available through this property investment. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you buy $1 million property for $800,000. 6 months later, you go to the bank and you say, hey bank, I've got $1 million property, but I only owe $800,000 on this property. I would like to borrow an additional $200,000 on this property. The banks would look at your credibility, your affordability, and if they are happy with it, they would advance those funds to you. Now you are sitting with capital which you can park in your access bond, and when required, you can extract those funds to expand your property portfolio further or for emergencies, and you can use that money to build a bigger property portfolio. It is Chester Alcaraz that said, in life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. If you like this content and would like to see more of it, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.